Okay, I will call the meeting to order, and I'll welcome you to the June school board meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, under the consent agenda, item 2.1, roll call. Please note all board members are present. 2.2, are there any conflicts of interest that board members need to disclose this evening? Okay, 2.3, we need a review and approval of the agenda. Could we have a motion, please?
I move approval of the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Stein. Second by Mrs. Lohr. Any comments or questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2.4, we need to approve the minutes of the May 9th meeting. Could we have a motion, please?
I move approval of the minutes of the May 2022 meeting.
Second.
Motion by Moulton and second by Iverson. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And 2.5, receive the financial reports for May.
Thank you. The taxing funds of general capital outlay and special education received taxes for the first major portion of the 2021 taxes payable in 2022 in the total amount of $8.5 million. The general and special education funds both received the regular monthly state aid payment along with $568,000 of federal funds related to Title and ESSER 3 in the general fund. In the enterprise funds of K-12 nutrition, concessions, preschool, and driver's education, activity took place as the school year wrapped up. All of the funds to see an increase to available cash on hand at fiscal year end. Lake Area Tech received several different revenue sources related to the operation of the summer semester. State revenue sources was received in the amount of $2.2 million and is related to state aid, instructor salary support, and state M&R, Skills USA, and an apprenticeship grant. Federal revenue in the amount of $778,000 was also received in support of HERF, or also known as CARES 3. The revenue significantly exceeded the expenditures for the month of May, and the cash balance reflects an increase over the prior year. In the enterprise funds of LATC bookstore, food service, and the daycare, activity was moderate. The available cash on hand in both the food service and the daycare account to see an increase to cash on hand at fiscal year end, supported by CARES funding in support of the programs. The bookstore anticipates a decrease to available cash as offset through inventory levels. The Employee Benefit Trust saw income exceed the claims and administrative costs for the month of May, with funds remaining at a healthy level to support future liabilities. I would be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
Okay, if no questions on the financial reports, we'll move to 2.6 with the student and staff recognition.
Thank you very much. I've got one debate team I'd like to recognize this evening. Fresh off the Northern South Dakota World Schools competition, we have these 5 students will be competing against students from across the U.S. and several countries around the world in Louisville, Kentucky in June at the National Speech and Debate Association National Tournament. Representing Watertown at this are Josie Compton, Lucy Walker, Landon Whittle, Aiden Calvert, and Grace Remmers. So let's give that group a big round of applause. And then we have a couple of our administrators who are retiring not retiring this evening. We still expect them to work a little bit yet, but this will be their final board meeting. And so, Mr. Brandsrud, if you would come up just quickly in front of the camera so we can give you a round of applause, and thank you for all your just if you stand in front of me, you'll be in it. But thank you for your service as both an assistant principal and for leading us through this COVID construction period here the last 2 years as the high school principal. Thank you very much. You're welcome. And Mr. Darrell Stacy, come on up, assistant superintendent. Mr. Stacy served the district in the capacity of both principal at Roosevelt as well as McKinley Elementaries, and for the last 12 years as the assistant superintendent for the Watertown School District. So we thank you very much, Mr. Stacy, for your service and dedication to the district. Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to the discussion items for Lake Area Tech. And first of all, 3.1, is there any public input this evening on agenda or non-agenda items? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the action items. And first of all, under personnel, 4.1.1, the resignations.
Yes, ma'am. We recommend your acceptance of the resignations as presented.
I move approval of the resignations as presented.
Motion by Stein
Second?
and a second by Lohr. Any comments, questions on the resignations? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And on to the contract recommendations and addendums.
Yes, ma'am. We'd recommend your acceptance of the contract recommendations and addendums. You'll see there's instructors being hired for next year, personnel moving to different positions, as well as grant personnel that we're bringing on board next fall. So, and in addition to that, we have the normal adjuncts and part-time positions that we would normally do over the summer. We recommend your approval of these contract recommendations.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract recommendations.
Motion by Lohr,
Second.
second by Stein. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to property, 4.2.1, consider the Capital City Campus lease agreement.
Yes, ma'am. Lake Area Tech recommends entering into another year lease with the Capital City Campus in Pierre. We run our practical nursing program. It is offered on that campus location, and the lease amount is based upon a number of credits that are offered at the Capital City campus, and that is a way to encourage a joint partnership in the success of that program. So we recommend your acceptance of that lease.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I move acceptance of the Capital City Campus lease agreement as presented.
Motion by Moulton
Second.
and second by Iverson. Any comments or questions on the lease agreement? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 4.2.2, consider the Mount Marty lease agreement.
Yes, ma'am. You have in front of you another 3-year lease agreement with Mount Marty. Their current agreement ends August 1st, 2022. We're recommending that we enter into another 3-year lease. The adjustments into this lease include acknowledgement that Mount Marty will move their bookstore online, as well as offering them the opportunity for Mount Marty to participate, their students to participate in our student activities. We'd recommend your approval of this lease.
Could we have a motion on that, please?
I move that we consider the Mount Marty lease agreement for a 3-year period.
Motion by Iverson. And second by Moulton. Comments or questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 4.2.3, consider the equipment lease agreement.
Yes, ma'am. Lake Area Tech recommends approval of the lease agreement with TransSource for a wheel loader to support our heavy equipment operator program during the summer semester.
All right, motion, please.
I move approval of the equipment lease agreement as presented with TransSource.
Motion by Moulton,
Second.
second by Iverson. Comments or questions there? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And 4.2.4, consider the surplus property resolution.
Yes, ma'am. You have in front of you a surplus property resolution that it has several aspects in it. We'd recommend your approval of this surplus resolution as presented.
Can we have a motion, please?
I move that we consider the surplus property resolution.
Motion by Iverson, second by Moulton. Any comments, questions on that resolution? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, President Carney.
Thank you, ma'am. Just a point of personal privilege, I'd like to also thank Darrell for all the work and support he's done for Lake Area Tech over the years as the assistant superintendent. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now to the discussion items for the K-12 side. First of all, 5.1, is there any public input on agenda or non-agenda items for the K-12 this evening? Okay, if not, 5.2, the Northeast Tech High School report.
Thank you. I just want to remind those board members who participate in the Northeast Tech meetings that the meeting has been pushed from usually it's the 3rd, it would have been this week, been pushed to the 4th Wednesday, so next week, June 22nd, there is a budget hearing at 5:30 with the regular meeting starting at 5:45.
Okay, thank you. 5.3, review of the American Rescue Plan.
Thank you. The American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund was established in response to the immense challenges facing students, educators, staff, schools, and districts in preparing for and responding to COVID-19. The Watertown School District has received $4,679,132. That's actually the available funding, and we have budgeted the full funds to date, and they are to be liquidated by December of 2024. The plan is to be reviewed and updated if necessary every 6 months. The plan, as noted, does not include any changes to the most recent plans that was reapproved in December of 2021. Just a reminder, $2.7 million of funding is set aside to accommodate learning loss, including summer school, early learning initiatives, and funding of alternative education, literacy coaches, interventionists, academic recovery, and instructional coaching. The remaining $1.9 million has been accommodated for technology purchases of iPads and interactive panels at the elementary level. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right, move on next to the 5.4, review of the Safe Return Plan.
Thank you. This in conjunction with the American Rescue Plan. We did have our return to school plan for 21-22 was probably much less strict than the 2021 plan. Masks were optional. We only kept COVID positives home, and that was also a change in how we did that, where it was 5 days home with 5 days of masking when they came back. We did continue to contact trace throughout the year up until the end of April when the state quit collecting that. So we were contact tracing, so we knew who our close contacts were, but this year, per our plan, we did not have them stay home as we did last year. And so just a few numbers for folks. We did have 647 positives, 122 of those were staff members, 525 were students, compared to a total of 575 last year, so we actually had more positives this year. And then a couple of bigger spikes in September, where we had 14 staff and 96 students. And then our big month this year was our January. We had 58 COVID positive staff members and 250 students, and the big thing with the staff members is just, it impacted with our substitutes and some of that. So I want to thank those principals and our staff members for all the help keeping school running, as far as there was a lot of coverage to be done here with our substitute pool. So if there are folks listening, watching, who are interested in substitute teaching, we are taking applications for the 21-22 school year. So. Yeah, we are in need of substitute teachers, so we'd be grateful there. As far as if people have questions about the 22-23 school year, no determinations have been made there, but obviously we feel like our year went fairly well with the reduced options this year, and we'll just still be awaiting some guidance from state and federal on how to proceed for next year, but for now, this was kind of a recap of the 21-22 year.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to 5.5 and a first reading of policies, and we're looking at JGIC, which is the standards for participation.
Yes, thank you. We have before you as a first reading, last month, Mr. Boyens gave a presentation on our current standards for participation, gave us a little bit of information, and we have before you a little bit of an overhaul of this policy for your consideration. You can see in there a big piece of that is when you look at the violations and moving from what I would call a one and done to a first violation of 14 calendar days or 2 events, whichever is greater. A second violation of 42 calendar days or 6 events, whichever is greater. And then the possibility of 56 calendar days or 8 events, whichever is greater, for third and subsequent violations. There is an appeal process listed in there. A little bit on the practice participation, and then the record of violations as far as how long that accumulates for 1 year in middle school and all 4 years of high school. And then if a middle school student participates in high school activities, the violations accumulate starting when that student their participation begins. So if a 7th grader is participating as a varsity athlete or a high school athlete, their violations accumulate there. So, like I said, for your consideration, and Mr. Boyens is here if you have questions of him or myself, but stand by for that.
Are there any comments or questions to go along with this first reading?
I've got a question for Mr. Boyens.
Put him on the hot seat.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for putting the time and effort into this. I know that it's a big undertaking, but my question for you is pretty generic, and just wondering what your rationale was for landing on this formula. I know that you had a chance to look at other districts and provide some comparables, but just looking for some rationale on why you landed on this one.
So I had some goals. And maybe this was passed on to you guys as well. But the goals, after conversations with board members, coaches, staff members, the public, parents who I've dealt with in these situations, and my goal was to provide some support within our policy. That was one of my goals. If a decision's made and they get in trouble, provide parent and or counseling involvement to help provide support for the student, provide consistency with consequences regardless of time of year and season. So whether they're in season or out of season, the consequence is going to be the same. And then it was important to still hold our students accountable, but I wanted to be able to still provide some support for them and not just send them off and say they're gone. And so I think with this, after looking at the South Dakota School Activity Association policies, some policies and visiting with some athletic directors that I'm comfortable with and trust, and some school districts that I think have taken a recent look at this, that's kind of a culmination of what I came up with.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a long-winded answer, sorry.
It's great. It's appreciated. One of the perks that we've talked about one-on-one, or one of the perks of the previous policy, is that it's pretty black and white. Yep. With, one and done. Yep. And it sounds great in theory, but until you're the person sitting across from the parent and having that very difficult conversation, or the student, then it gets really tricky. And so perhaps this is a way to find some balance in all of that, while still holding a high expectation.
That would be the hope, yeah.
And providing some relief there too.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time and effort on this. Looking forward to any public feedback.
Let me know.
Between now and then.
The policy would be open for comment on our website, so if that's, folks feel compelled to comment on it, that would be a good avenue besides the contact with, obviously, administrators and school board members.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Boyens. Next, we'll move to the action items and 6.1, approval of the bills. Could we have a motion?
I move approval of the bills.
Motion by Stein,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any comments or questions on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And moving on to personnel, we got the resignations.
Yes, I bring forth certified, classified, and also activity positions for you to consider, and the activity positions are pending suitable replacement.
I move approval of the resignations as presented.
Motion by Stein,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any comments or questions on the resignations? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And 6.2.2, the contract recommendations and addendums.
Yes, I bring a list of contract recommendations and addendums that include certified positions, classified activity, there's lane change, there's a national certified certificate here, dual credit, department chairs, curriculum, professional development, summer school, and then also the state mentoring stipend, and that is reimbursed from the state of South Dakota.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I will make a motion to approve the contract recommendation and addendum.
Motion by Lohr, second by Stein. Any comments or questions on the long list of recommendations?
I do have one.
Contract recommendations.
I do have one question, Mr. Stacy, on, I think you may have answered the question, but, and it may be a timing issue, but I see we have a resignation for Kristen Dahl, but we also have a contract recommendation under state mentoring for $1,500 as well. Is that a timing?
Yes, she completed all requirements. She was a mentor for us this last year, and so she completed all the requirements to get that state stipend, to that mentoring stipend. Okay.
Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, all in favor of approving the contract recommendations and addendum, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving to 6.3 property. First of all, we've got 6.3.1, consider change order number 5 to the high school renovations.
Thank you. The proposed change order consists of 11 modifications to the project. The net of this change order is an increase in the amount of $97,654, bringing the total change orders of the project to $532,937. This leaves the construction contingency for the project at $94,689, and we are in the last phase of the project this summer.
Okay, could we have a motion first, please?
I move approval of change order number 5 as presented.
Motion by Moulton,
Second.
second by Iverson. Any comments or questions on the change orders? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 6.3.2, consider the Prairie Lakes Healthcare System Strength and Conditioning Services Agreement.
Thank you. Before you is a agreement with Prairie Lakes Healthcare System to provide a strength and conditioning coach for our activity programs. They currently provide us with 2 athletic trainers, and this would be in addition to it under a similar contract. We are very grateful for this offer from the Prairie Lakes Healthcare System to provide 3 employees to help with our care and prevention of injuries, and now to add the strength and conditioning part. A special thank you to Dot McAravey, who has been working on the Prairie Lakes Health side and kept up the persistence to help us get this done. So we are recommending your approval of this.
Okay, could we have a motion?
I move that we accept this agreement with Prairie Lakes Healthcare Systems.
Motion by Iverson. Second by Moulton. Any comments or questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6.3.3, authorize notice of appointment for the school board election.
Thank you. Action is needed for the appointment of the school board election workers for the election to be held on June 21st, 2022.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I move approval of the authorization notice of appointment for school board election officials.
Motion by Stein. Second by Lohr. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6.3.4, consider the charter bus service bid.
Thank you. It is recommended to approve the sole bid received from Dunewald Transportation at a rate of $3.75 per mile.
Okay, could we have a motion on the bus service?
I move approval of the bus rate per mile as presented.
Motion by Moulton
Second.
and a second by Iverson. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And 6.3.5, consider the surplus property resolution.
Yes, thank you. The resolution contains several items that are noted for donation or disposal, and it is recommended to approve those items.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I move that we agree to dispose of this surplus property.
Motion by Iverson. Second by Moulton. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now we've got 6.4, which is the second reading of policies. And first, it's GBRJ, the substitute personnel.
Yes, thank you. The substitute personnel, no changes from the first reading, but just a reminder that the big change we made to this policy was to remove the actual amount of the substitute rate and move that as an annual consideration to the July board meeting. So we will be bringing that. So when I was asking for substitute teachers tonight, we don't know how much you're going to get paid, but it'll most likely be more than this current year. And that will be brought to you in at the July board meeting for your consideration with the rates and fees. So we're recommending this for approval.
Okay, could we have a motion on that, please?
I will make a motion to approve the GBRJ substitute personnel.
Motion by Lohr. Second by Moulton. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 6.4.2 GCCA, the benefits and leave from work employees at Lake Area Tech.
Yes, no updates from first reading to second reading, so recommending approval of this.
Okay, could we have a motion to approve?
I move approval of policy GCCAA.
Motion by Moulton,
Second.
second by Lohr. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And 6.4.3 GCCB.
Same here in that there were no updates from first reading to second reading, so recommend approval.
Okay, could we have a motion on that one?
So moved.
Motion by Stein,
Second.
second by Iverson. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the changes to GCCB, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And 6.5, consider the 2021-22 supplemental budget.
Thank you. The proposed supplemental budget provides modifications to the 21-22 budget to accommodate the increased expenditure allocations and offsets through identified revenue supports. The 21-22 budget was adopted at $108,668,002 and has been modified during the year at a total of $10,762,235. bringing the total 21-22 budget operation for the fiscal year to $119,430,237. This budget modification accounts for changes totaling $6.4 million. In the general fund, the increase in expenditure allocations is to accommodate GASB accounting standards of $285,762. This transaction accounts for the activity maintained in custodial accounts, otherwise known as trust and agency accounts, and is a requirement to year-end financials. Additional entries of $129,000 are to accommodate an increase to summer school activity as offset through the American Rescue Planning, title administration, and increase for activities seen with Aero Education and accommodated with the matching revenue offset. Special education sees an increase of $45,000 to accommodate increased residential tuition, bringing this budget to $7.3 million. The enterprise funds of K-12 nutrition services, concessions, driver's ed, LATC daycare, bookstore, and LATC nutrition services are all to receive expenditure allocations as a direct requirement of governmental accounting standards, GASB 68, to support a non-cash expenditure identifiable as the enterprise allocation to support SDRS pension-related liabilities. These expenditures are offset with the use of cash on hand with notation that the supplement to the budget does not directly affect cash on hand and is a non-cash expenditure. Lake Area Technical College to increase by $3.5 million, with $2.2 million as noted for construction in progress of the diesel expansion and archway complex. Other identifications noted for equipment reallocations, parts resale, and insurance. LATC Bookstore shows an increase as noted under resale of technology equipment and tools to accommodate technology ordered in advance for FY23 due to ordering delays. The Employee Benefit Trust anticipates an increase of $1.6 million to accommodate claims and estimated claims to be reported at fiscal year end. I would sure entertain any questions if you have any.
All right, we need a motion to go with the 21-22 budget, supplemental budget.
I'll make the motion to go with the supplemental budget that was just presented.
Motion by Stein. And a second by Moulton to approve the 21-22 supplemental budget. Any comments or questions there? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 6.6, approval of special education comprehensive plan.
Thank you. This is our annual submission for our comprehensive plan for special education, and this is needed to assure our funding from state and federal sources. Dr. Heath is available if you have questions on this one. She would be better able to answer that than I. But we are seeking approval of this particular comprehensive plan.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I move approval of the comprehensive special education plan.
Motion by Moulton. Second by Iverson. Are there any comments or questions on the plan? Approval. Hearing none, all in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And 6.7, the student enrollment requests.
We do have one open enrollment for your consideration that we recommend approval.
Okay, could we have a motion, please?
I move approval of the open enrollment request.
Motion by Stein.
Second.
Second by Lohr. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the open enrollment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we don't have any 132810.
We do have one 132810 for your approval.
I will make a motion to approve the 132810.
Motion by Lohr. Second by Stein to approve the 132810. Comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. And opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to communications. First of all, the administrative reports.
Yes. Just a reminder to the public, we do have a school board election on Tuesday, June 21st. Voting is from 7 to 7 on the 21st. Early voting has begun, and so early voting takes place at the Watertown administrative offices Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So that would go up until 5 p.m. on Monday. We do have two of our seated members here, Stuart Stein and Gene Moulton running. Also Nancy Turback-Berry and Tom Lennox. So vote for 2 spots when you come to vote at the Watertown admin office. Then on June 27th, we are requesting a special board meeting at noon to consider bids for phase 1 of our track football stadium process. And then a reminder, in July, we will have the budget hearing at 5 p.m. on July 11th for the new fiscal year, with the regular meeting to start at 5:30.
All right, thank you, Dr. Danielson. 7.2, is there any board reports to the superintendent?
I've actually got 2 things. First off, thank you, Mr. Stacy, for all your years of service, and Mr. Brandrud as well. Thank you both. Greatly appreciate that. I've had a couple of recent requests here lately about the visibility of the board meetings, and I'd like to just put another bug in the ear of the board and Dr. Danielson to get us to the point where we can live stream the board meetings rather than just strictly the GovTV option, which is, I think, the only option we have right now. So if we can consider going to the live meetings, I think that would be a good move on a lot of levels.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Any other comments this evening? If not, we need a motion to adjourn. Anyone? Motion by Moulton. Second by Everson. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, thanks, everyone.